Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
I'm excited.
I'm Ryan Lamas.
And I'm Rana Sclotto.
We're so glad to have you back
Absolutely.
for another deep dive into health and fitness.
Right.
Today we're going to be ditching that old calories in, calories out mantra.
Yeah.
And we're going to be exploring how hormones really control weight loss and gain.
Yeah, it's about time.
It's a bit more complex, but we promise to break it down so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Even if you're explaining it to a fifth grader.
That's right.
To help us navigate this topic, we're going to be diving into insights
Okay.
from Dr. Jason Fung.
Right.
He's a kidney specialist
Okay.
who has become a leading voice in intermittent fasting and a hormonal approach to weight management.
Sounds good.
He's uncovered some seriously interesting stuff.
Like what?
So, for example, did you know there's a study that shows people who eat breakfast
Yeah.
actually consume more calories on average
Really?
than those who skip it?
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
It really flips the script on everything we've been told about breakfast being the most important meal of the day.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
We'll be unpacking a YouTube interview with Dr. Fung
Right.
from the Diary of a CEO channel.
Oh, cool.
It's like you're right there with us,
Yeah. Okay.
listening to this fascinating conversation between experts.
I like it.
We'll guide you through the key takeaways
Awesome.
and help you understand what they could mean for your own health journey.
Great.
Now, before we get started,
Yeah.
we would love for you to check out our YouTube channel,
Okay.
Thinkiverse Podcast.
All right.
We're all about unlocking knowledge across the spectrum every day.
Love it.
Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more deep dives like this one.
Awesome.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
One of Dr. Fung's core arguments is that just focusing on cutting calories often backfires.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah, why is that?
Because it ignores the intricate dance of hormones that our bodies perform in response to food.
You're right. Our bodies are incredibly sophisticated.
Yeah.
When you restrict calories drastically, your metabolism can actually slow down, making it even harder to lose weight.
So it's like you're fighting an uphill battle against your own biology.
Precisely.
Wow.
And that's how people get trapped in the frustrating cycle of yo-yo dieting.
Oh, yeah.
They lose weight, but then it piles right back on when they stop the restrictive diet.
Yeah.
Because the metabolism hasn't caught up.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker.
What's that?
It's not their fault.
Oh, wow.
It's actually a natural physiological response.
So if calories aren't the whole story, what should we be focusing on instead?
Dr. Fung points to hormones,
Okay.
particularly insulin,
All right.
as the real puppet masters of weight gain and loss.
So they hold more influence than we realize.
Way more.
Okay, let's break that down a bit.
Sure.
You remind us what insulin does in the body.
Think of insulin as a storage hormone. When you eat, your body releases insulin, which signals your body to store excess energy as fat, like packing away leftovers for later.
So if our bodies are constantly churning out insulin,
Right.
we're storing more fat even if we're not eating a ton of calories.
You got it.
Wow.
It's not just about the quantity of calories, but also the quality and how they impact our hormonal responses.
That makes sense.
Dr. Fung uses a powerful analogy to explain this.
What's that?
You can't cure alcoholism by just telling someone to drink less.
Right.
You have to address the underlying mechanisms that are driving the overconsumption. Similarly, you can't address obesity without understanding the hormonal symphony playing out in our bodies. It's about more than willpower. It's about recognizing the powerful role hormones play.
That's a really helpful way to look at it.
I think so.
So are you saying that different foods trigger different insulin responses?
Absolutely.
Really?
Let's imagine you eat 2 slices of white bread with jam. That's going to send your insulin levels soaring like a rocket taking off.
Wow.
Shuttling most of those calories straight into your fat stores.
And then a couple hours later, I'm ravenous again.
Exactly.
It's like clockwork.
Now compare that to eating an egg.
Okay.
Eggs are packed with protein and fat,
Yeah.
which trigger a much gentler rise in insulin.
Okay.
As a result, you feel fuller for longer because that energy is released slowly and steadily, keeping you going throughout the day.
That makes so much sense.
It does.
And this is where Dr. Fung's work with intermittent fasting comes into play, right?
It is.
He's become a major proponent of using it for weight management.
He has.
But before we dive into that, I want to touch on something fascinating Dr. Fung said about this.
Okay.
He explained that chugging a 1,000-calorie soda doesn't make you feel as full
Really?
as eating a 1,000-calorie steak.
Why is that?
It all boils down to how different foods affect our hormones and feelings of fullness.
Oh, okay.
The soda, loaded with simple sugars, causes a rapid insulin spike, and then a crash, leaving you feeling unsatisfied. The steak, with its protein and fat, promotes a slower, more sustained release of energy and keeps you feeling satiated for longer.
Makes sense.
So I could actually end up consuming more calories after the soda because I'm still hungry.
That's right.
That's counterintuitive.
It is.
It highlights how important it is to understand how our food choices, beyond just calories, impact our hormonal responses and drive our eating behaviors.
Absolutely.
This is mind-blowing.
It is.
So it sounds like the quality of what we eat is just as important as the quantity.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And that leads us perfectly to Dr. Fung's work with intermittent fasting, which he believes is a powerful tool for resetting our hormonal balance.
So how does intermittent fasting work?
Wow.
Is it as simple as just not eating?
It's not about starving yourself. It's more about strategically timing your meals.
Right.
The idea is to extend the period of time when you don't eat.
Which allows your insulin levels to drop, giving your body a chance to finally tap into and burn that stored fat.
I've always heard that fasting puts your body into starvation mode, which slows your metabolism down and makes you hold on to weight.
That's a common myth.
Is it?
But Dr. Fung offers evidence that fasting can actually rev up your metabolism.
Really? How does it work?
It seems like the opposite of what we'd expect, right?
Yeah.
It actually makes a lot of sense if you consider our evolutionary history. Our ancestors went through cycles of feast and famine. Their bodies adapted to become more active and alert during periods of fasting, enhancing energy and mental clarity to improve their chances of finding food.
So it's like our bodies are hardwired to thrive during those periods of fasting.
Precisely.
Wow.
And Dr. Fung puts it in simple terms.
How so?
If you don't eat, you're going to lose weight.
Of course, there's more nuance to it than that.
Sure.
What you eat when you do eat matters a lot.
Yeah. Processed foods loaded with refined carbs and sugars wreak havoc on your insulin levels. Sending them on a roller coaster ride compared to whole unprocessed foods.
It's true.
So intermittent fasting is more than just skipping meals. It's about giving our bodies a break from constant food processing and allowing our hormones to recalibrate.
Exactly.
And there's another fascinating element to fasting that Dr. Fung highlights.
What's that?
Autophagy.
Autophagy.
What is that?
It's like a cellular cleansing crew. When you fast, your body goes into cleanup mode, breaking down and recycling old, damaged cell parts.
So it's like a cellular renovation.
Exactly.
Out with the old, in with the new.
That's right.
And the potential benefits of autophagy are pretty remarkable.
They are.
Research suggests it might play a role in fighting aging, cancer, Alzheimer's disease, and other chronic conditions.
Wow.
Wow, that's incredible.
It is.
It makes you wonder if we've underestimated the power of something as simple as fasting. It really does.
And you know what's really interesting?
What's that?
Fasting and autophagy are connected to ancient cultural and religious traditions that have been practiced for centuries. Oh, wow. It's almost like they were onto something way before modern science caught up.
So modern science is just catching up to ancient wisdom.
In many ways, yes.
Wow.
And this deep dive into fasting and its effects on our hormones leads us to another area where Dr. Fung is making waves. Type 2 diabetes.
All right.
He's incredibly passionate about reversing type 2 diabetes through dietary changes, including intermittent fasting. Now, before we dive into that fascinating topic, we want to remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Thinkiverse Podcast.
Awesome.
We're all about unlocking knowledge across the spectrum every day.
Love it.
And we'd love for you to join our community of learners.
Yeah.
Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more deep dives like this one.
Great.
Okay, let's get back to Dr. Fung and his work with type 2 diabetes. He believes it's largely a dietary disease that can often be reversed through lifestyle changes.
Interesting.
This is a pretty radical idea, wouldn't you say?
It is.
Especially considering the conventional medical approach to type 2 diabetes.
I know.
But Dr. Fung's research is showing promising results.
And
it all comes back to those hormones we've been talking about.
All right.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll unpack Dr. Fung's approach to tackling this widespread disease and explore the amazing potential our bodies have to heal themselves when given the right tools.
Sounds good. It's incredible how much we're discovering about the human body, right?
I know, it's amazing.
And how it responds to food.
Yeah, it really is.
We've been fed this oversimplified message about weight loss.
For so long.
And it turns out it's just not the whole story.
It's like we've been handed a two-dimensional map when the reality is a multi-dimensional landscape.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. Dr. Fung highlighted a really interesting point.
About how our bodies actually have built-in mechanisms to regulate our weight.
Oh, okay.
Like an internal thermostat for our body fat.
Interesting.
He calls it our body set weight.
Body set weight.
Which is essentially the weight range our body naturally tries to maintain through hormonal signaling.
So it's kind of like a comfort zone for your weight.
Yeah, think of it like that.
Okay, so theoretically we shouldn't be able to gain weight indefinitely.
And a perfectly balanced system, that's right. But as we've been discussing, the modern food environment and our lifestyles can throw those systems out of whack, leading to imbalances.
So that's where the problems arise.
Exactly.
Dr. Fung brought up something called leptin resistance.
Yeah.
Which is when our bodies become less sensitive to leptin,
Right.
a hormone that signals our brain to reduce hunger.
Exactly.
Okay, can you explain leptin resistance a little more?
Sure.
Why does it happen?
So leptin is produced by our fat cells.
Okay.
When we gain weight, leptin levels rise, telling our brain, hey, we've got enough energy stored. Let's dial back the hunger.
Okay.
But when we develop leptin resistance, our brain doesn't get the message.
So we just keep eating.
And we continue to feel hungry even when we have ample energy reserves.
So it's like our body's thermostat is malfunctioning.
Yes.
It's not getting the signal to stop storing fat.
Right.
And it can be incredibly frustrating trying to manage weight when that happens.
It is.
What causes leptin resistance in the first place?
Well, Dr. Fung points to several factors.
Okay.
But one major culprit is the overabundance of processed foods in our diets.
Processed foods.
Yeah. These foods loaded with sugar and refined carbohydrates
Uh-huh.
bombard our systems with constant insulin spikes.
Oh, wow.
And over time, this can lead to insulin resistance.
Now, what is insulin resistance?
Insulin resistance is when our cells become less responsive to insulin signals,
Okay.
which means glucose can't enter the cells as easily, leading to elevated blood sugar levels.
And here's the connection.
What's that?
Insulin resistance can contribute to leptin resistance.
Yeah.
It's like a domino effect.
It is.
Creating a vicious cycle of hormonal imbalances
Exactly.
that makes it harder to regulate our weight.
Right.
And increases our risk for conditions like type 2 diabetes.
Exactly.
So it's not just that processed foods are calorie dense.
It's not just that, no.
They also mess with our hormones in a way that makes it much harder to manage our weight.
They absolutely do.
Wow.
They send the wrong signals to our bodies, disrupting the delicate balance of our hormonal system.
This is all starting to make so much more sense.
It is.
And it really reinforces that it's not about willpower or blaming ourselves for being overweight.
It's not.
It's about understanding the complex interplay of our hormones.
Exactly.
And how our food choices impact them.
I completely agree.
Okay, so if we want to get those hormones back on track, what can we do?
Well, besides intermittent fasting, are there other lifestyle changes that can help?
Absolutely.
That's great.
Dr. Fung stresses the importance of reducing processed foods and embracing whole, unprocessed foods.
Okay.
He's a big advocate for fiber,
Fiber.
which acts like a buffer,
Okay.
slowing down the absorption of sugar and preventing those dramatic insulin spikes that throw everything off balance.
So ditching the sugary drinks and white bread.
That's right.
And loading up on fruits, vegetables, and whole grains.
Exactly.
Okay.
And don't forget about protein.
Yeah.
Protein is crucial for building and repairing tissues.
Uh-huh.
And it also helps us feel full and satisfied.
I always thought protein was a key player in weight loss.
It is.
It is.
But Dr. Fung points out that in nature, protein is rarely found in isolation.
Okay.
It's usually paired with fat, like in a steak or a chicken breast.
Yeah.
This combination helps us feel more satiated
and
promotes a slower, more balanced release of energy.
Right.
He cautioned against relying too heavily on processed protein powder and supplements.
I see.
Because they can disrupt our natural hormonal balance.
He specifically mentioned whey protein powder.
Whey protein.
Which has become a popular supplement.
Yeah.
But he expressed concerns about its potential impact on our hormonal system.
Interesting.
It's like sometimes in our quest for quick fixes, we overlook the wisdom of nature and how our bodies have evolved to thrive on whole, unprocessed foods.
That's a great point.
Thanks.
It's like we're trying to hack the system when the best approach is often to work with our body's natural processes.
I think you're right.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to eating.
Me too.
I know it's a lot to process.
It is.
But remember, small changes can make a big difference.
That's right.
Start by swapping out a few processed foods for whole food alternatives.
Yeah.
Experiment with intermittent fasting.
Okay.
And most importantly, be patient with yourself.
Uh-huh.
It takes time for our bodies to adapt to new habits.
Speaking of habits, Dr. Fung also touched on the role of exercise in weight loss.
Oh, he did.
And he actually argued that while exercise is incredibly beneficial for overall health, it's not as effective for weight loss as many people believe.
Really?
Yeah.
I always thought burning calories through exercise was key to weight management.
It's not that straightforward.
Oh.
Dr. Fung explained that the number of calories we burn during a typical workout is often quite small.
Really?
Compared to the number of calories in the foods we eat.
That makes sense.
You could run for an hour and burn a couple hundred calories, but then easily negate that with a slice of cake or a sugary drink.
Oh, no.
So you could be hitting the gym hard, but still struggling to lose weight if your diet isn't aligned with your goals.
I see.
Plus, exercise can sometimes make us hungrier,
Yeah.
leading us to eat more afterward.
Yeah, it's like our bodies try to compensate for the energy we've expended.
Exactly.
So it's not that exercise is bad for weight loss.
Right.
It's just that we shouldn't rely on it as the primary strategy.
That's right.
It's about finding a sustainable balance between healthy eating habits.
Mindful movement and listening to our bodies.
Right.
And maybe incorporating some intermittent fasting to help reset our hormonal balance.
That's a great takeaway from this deep dive.
I think so, too.
Dr. Fung emphasized that breakfast isn't necessarily the most important meal of the day.
Oh, really?
He actually encouraged extending that overnight fasting period.
That's interesting.
Historically, humans didn't have access to food 24/7.
Right.
That overnight fasting period was a natural part of life, giving our bodies a chance to rest and repair.
Okay.
And he even mentioned research suggesting that breakfast eaters tend to consume more calories overall throughout the day.
It seems counterintuitive.
It does.
But it could be that skipping breakfast helps regulate hunger hormones.
Yeah?
Like ghrelin, which plays a key role in stimulating our appetite.
Right. Ghrelin is often called the hunger hormone.
Hunger hormone.
And it sends signals to our brain, letting us know when it's time to refuel.
Okay.
It typically rises before meals and drops after we eat. So maybe we should be rethinking that age-old saying.
What's that?
Eat breakfast like a king lunch, like a prince, and dinner like a pauper.
Yeah.
Perhaps we should be flipping that script and having our lightest meal in the morning.
Food for thought, isn't it?
It is.
This whole conversation is making me realize how much our modern lifestyles have disrupted our natural eating patterns.
Yeah.
We have access to food 24/7.
That's right.
We're bombarded with advertising for processed foods.
Constantly.
It's no wonder our hormones are out of whack.
Like we've lost touch with our body's natural rhythms.
I think so.
And it's affecting our health in profound ways.
It really is.
Dr. Fung brought up the example of snacking.
Snacking.
Which has become completely normalized in our culture.
Yeah, we're constantly told to graze throughout the day.
Right.
But that constant eating keeps our insulin levels elevated and prevents our bodies from tapping into stored fat.
It's almost as if we're afraid to let ourselves feel hungry.
Yeah.
We've become so accustomed to instant gratification that we can't tolerate even mild discomfort.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And that's driving us to overeat and store more fat.
It's certainly a contributing factor.
Wow.
We're overriding our body's natural signals and creating a constant state of feast, which can disrupt our hormonal balance and lead to weight gain.
This is also fascinating, but it also feels a bit overwhelming.
I get that.
Where do we even begin to make changes?
I understand it can feel like a lot.
It does.
But remember, small changes can have a big impact over time.
Okay.
Start with something manageable.
Like what?
Like swapping out a sugary breakfast cereal for a protein-rich alternative.
Okay.
Or cutting back on sugary drinks.
Right.
Or trying intermittent fasting, starting with a shorter fasting window, like 12 hours.
Okay.
And gradually increasing it as you feel comfortable.
Exactly.
And be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
It takes time to retrain our bodies and reestablish healthy habits.
This all makes me wonder if our obsession with weight loss has blinded us to the deeper issue, hormonal health.
That's a profound insight.
Thank you.
It seems we've focused so much on the number on the scale that we've neglected the underlying mechanisms that govern our metabolism and weight regulation.
Right.
And Dr. Fung's work suggests that addressing those hormonal imbalances is crucial
Absolutely.
for achieving sustainable weight loss and overall health.
I completely agree. And it's not just about weight.
No.
Hormonal health affects every aspect of our well-being.
That's right.
From our mood and energy levels to our sleep quality and cognitive function.
Absolutely.
You know, it's interesting how Dr. Fung talks about food as information or instructions for our body.
I know, that's cool.
It really reframes our relationship with what we eat.
It does.
It shifts the focus from simply counting calories to understanding how different foods impact our hormones and ultimately our health.
Absolutely.
We're not just fueling our bodies. We're sending signals that affect how our cells function.
That's right.
It's a much more empowering way to think about eating.
It is.
I couldn't agree more. It takes the emphasis off restriction and deprivation and puts it on making informed choices that support our overall well-being.
I love that.
This makes me think about all those fad diets out there that promise quick weight loss, but often lead to yo-yo dieting and long-term weight gain.
It's no surprise they fail.
They don't.
They often rely on extreme calorie restriction or cutting out entire food groups, which disrupts our natural hormonal balance and can be detrimental to our health.
And they completely miss the point of what Dr. Fung is talking about.
What's that?
Understanding the underlying hormonal mechanisms that drive weight gain and loss.
Exactly.
It's not about finding the next quick fix. It's about making sustainable lifestyle changes that support hormonal harmony and long-term well-being.
I love that hormonal harmony.
I know.
It's like we're trying to get our body's symphony back in tune.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
It's about finding the right balance and rhythm that allows our bodies to thrive.
Speaking of rhythm, Dr. Fung mentioned a fascinating concept.
What's that?
Autophagy.
Autophagy?
It's like a cellular cleaning process that's activated by fasting.
Okay, like our cells are engaging in a little spring cleaning.
That's a good way to put it.
Getting rid of all the clutter and making way for new healthy components.
Right. It's like a cellular detox, helping to keep our systems running smoothly.
And research suggests that autophagy might have all sorts of amazing health benefits.
Yeah, like what?
From slowing down aging to protecting against disease.
Wow.
It's like activating our body's natural healing and rejuvenation processes.
It's an exciting area of research, and it's fascinating to think about how something as simple as fasting can trigger such a powerful process within our bodies.
It's almost as if we have this incredible healing potential within us.
Yes.
And we just need to give our bodies the right signals to activate it.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
And it makes you wonder about the wisdom of ancient practices like fasting, which have been a part of human cultures for centuries.
Dr. Fung touched on that.
He did.
Suggesting that we're just beginning to understand the scientific basis for practices that have been passed down for generations.
It's possible that those who came before us had a deeper understanding of the human body and its needs than we give them credit for.
Absolutely.
It's humbling, isn't it?
It is.
To think that we're rediscovering wisdom that was already known centuries ago.
I think so.
It underscores the importance of staying open to new ideas and perspectives.
Yeah.
Even those that challenge conventional wisdom.
I agree.
And it makes me think that perhaps we've become too reliant on quick fixes and technological solutions, losing sight of the simple natural practices that can profoundly impact our health.
I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
It's about finding the balance between modern advancements and the timeless wisdom that has guided human health for millennia.
And maybe it's time we stop demonizing hunger. And start to see it as a natural signal from our bodies. That something needs to shift.
That's a powerful perspective shift.
It is.
Instead of fearing hunger, perhaps we can learn to listen to it and understand what it's trying to tell us.
What do you think it's trying to tell us?
And maybe, just maybe, that shift in thinking will lead us to a more balanced and harmonious relationship with food and our bodies.
I like where your head's at. It's about reclaiming our health and well-being by understanding the intricate workings of our bodies and making choices that support rather than sabotage those processes.
Now that we've explored the power of our hormones and the potential of intermittent fasting, let's shift gears and dive into Dr. Fung's groundbreaking work with type 2 diabetes. Before we do that, though, we want to remind you about our YouTube channel.
Of course.
If you're enjoying this deep dive and want more insightful explorations like this, be sure to subscribe to Thinkiverse Podcast on YouTube.
Yes, Steph.
We're all about unlocking knowledge across the spectrum every day.
Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out.
All right, let's get back to Dr. Fung and his revolutionary approach to reversing type 2 diabetes.
Okay, so Dr. Fung doesn't just see type 2 diabetes as a chronic condition to be managed.
No, he doesn't.
He sees it as a disease that can often be reversed through lifestyle changes.
That's a bold statement,
It is.
especially considering the conventional medical view of type 2 diabetes.
But Dr. Fung is backing it up with research and real-world results.
And at the heart of his approach
Yes.
is the understanding of hormonal imbalances, particularly insulin resistance, as the root cause of the disease. So we've established that Dr. Fung sees type 2 diabetes as a reversible condition rooted in hormonal imbalances.
That's right.
And his research is showing that it can often be reversed by making key lifestyle changes.
Like what?
Specifically by reducing carbohydrate intake and incorporating intermittent fasting.
That's pretty amazing. I always thought of type 2 diabetes as a chronic, irreversible condition that you just had to manage with medication.
It's a common misconception, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's contributing to the alarming rise of diabetes worldwide.
Wow.
Dr. Fung believes that by addressing the root cause,
What's the root cause?
the excessive consumption of sugar and refined carbohydrates,
Oh, okay.
we can restore insulin sensitivity and potentially reverse the progression of type 2 diabetes.
So it's like hitting the reset button on our hormonal system.
Exactly.
Giving our bodies a chance to heal.
By reducing our intake of those insulin-spiking foods, we give our bodies a break and allow them to become more responsive to insulin signals.
So our cells start listening to insulin again.
Yes, and this can lead to a significant reduction in blood sugar levels. And in some cases, even eliminate the need for medication altogether.
That's incredible. It offers so much hope for people who are struggling with this disease.
It does.
And what's even more remarkable is that these lifestyle changes are free and accessible to everyone. It's not about expensive drugs or complicated procedures.
No, it's about empowering people to take control of their health through simple yet powerful changes to their diet and lifestyle.
Dr. Fung's work is truly revolutionary.
It is.
He's challenging the conventional medical approach to managing type 2 diabetes and showing that there's a different path to healing and reversal.
He's not just treating the symptoms. He's addressing the underlying cause.
I like that.
And the results are speaking for themselves.
So what kind of results is he seeing?
His research has shown that significant improvements can be achieved through diet and intermittent fasting, often within weeks or even days.
Wow, that's so encouraging. I'm sure this message is resonating with many people who are looking for a more holistic and sustainable approach to managing their health.
I think so, too. It's a message of empowerment and hope.
Yeah.
We don't have to be passive recipients of a diagnosis.
No, we don't.
We can take an active role in our health and well-being.
It's about understanding how our bodies work and giving them the right instructions.
Exactly.
That includes understanding the role of hormones like insulin in regulating blood sugar levels.
Absolutely.
Dr. Fung emphasizes that we need to move beyond the simplistic calories in, calories out model.
Yes.
And embrace a more nuanced understanding of how our bodies process different foods.
Right.
And how those choices impact our hormones and overall health.
This makes me think about all those fad diets out there that promise quick weight loss, but often end up having harmful consequences for our health.
Dr. Fung is a vocal critic of those types of diets.
Yeah.
He believes they're unsustainable and often lead to yo-yo dieting, which can actually worsen insulin resistance and make it even harder to manage weight and blood sugar levels.
It's like those diets set us up for failure.
They do. They create a sense of deprivation and restriction, which is rarely sustainable in the long run. And when we inevitably fall off the wagon, we often end up feeling worse than when we started,
I know.
both physically and emotionally.
It's a vicious cycle.
And it's fueling the obesity and diabetes epidemics we're seeing worldwide.
That's why Dr. Fung's approach is so refreshing.
Yeah? Tell me about it.
He's not about quick fixes or extreme measures. It's about making sustainable lifestyle changes that support our overall health and well-being. It's about finding a way of eating that works with our bodies, not against them.
I love how he talks about the power of our bodies to heal themselves if we just give them the right support.
It's a powerful reminder that we're not powerless in the face of disease.
I like that.
We have an innate capacity for healing, and by making informed choices about our diet and lifestyle, we can tap into that potential.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
It has.
We've explored the hormonal underpinnings of weight loss and gain, learned about the incredible benefits of intermittent fasting and autophagy, and discovered how these principles can be applied to potentially reverse type 2 diabetes.
I've learned so much.
Me too.
And I'm feeling inspired to take a more proactive approach to managing my own health.
I'm right there with you.
Dr. Fung's work is a call to action.
Absolutely.
It's about reclaiming our health and well-being by understanding how our bodies work and giving them the support they need to thrive.
If you want to learn more about Dr. Fung's work and explore these concepts in greater depth, be sure to check out his books and resources.
And don't forget to subscribe to Thinkiverse Podcast on YouTube.
Yes.
Where we'll continue to explore fascinating topics like this one.
We're unlocking knowledge across the spectrum every day.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey of discovery.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.